The 351 Cleveland wasn't just any engine. It was a masterpiece of racing innovation that pushed boundaries. With massive high RPM airflow and a design unlike anything Ford had done before, it was set to become legendary. But shockingly, this engineering marvel was sidelined within just a few years. What happened? Let's uncover the secrets behind Ford's forbidden power. In the world of V8 engines, the 351 Cleveland stood out as a turning point for Ford. Compared to its predecessors like the Windsor small block, the Cleveland introduced a new level of innovation that blended racing capability with road reliability. This was not just another engine, it was a product of bold engineering. One of the most striking features was its cylinder head design. Ford offered two versions, the 2V, optimized for torque and fuel efficiency, and the more aggressive 4V, aimed at high-performance enthusiasts. These 4V heads were equipped with massive intake and exhaust ports, allowing for unparalleled airflow during high RPMs. On paper and in practice, this made the Cleveland an engine that could deliver staggering power numbers in a compact package. The story behind the 4V heads becomes even more impressive when you consider where the inspiration came from. Ford engineers drew heavily from their big block V8 lineup, borrowing the canted valve design that improved airflow efficiency. Unlike traditional inline valves, the canted arrangement allowed a more direct path for air and fuel into the combustion chamber. This wasn't just incremental improvement. This was a radical step, giving the Cleveland an edge that rivaled much larger V8s. But Ford didn't stop there. They refined the design to make it even more effective by incorporating closed combustion chambers on high-performance versions like the Boss 351. These chambers, combined with a solid lifter camshaft and aggressive timing, turned the Boss 351 into a true powerhouse, capable of outpacing engines with significantly larger displacements. The high points of the Cleveland's design were most noticeable in competitive racing. Ford had NASCAR in mind when they built this engine, as it provided the high-speed endurance racers desperately needed. The 4V heads, paired with a balanced bottom end, allowed drivers to push their engines to the limit on straightaways without losing power. On road courses, the Cleveland's efficiency at high RPMs also made it a favorite among teams. Bud Moore's dominance in Trans Am racing showcased this engine's immense capability when properly dialed in. However, while the Cleveland delivered on the track, it faced issues off it. Its heavier iron block, although durable, added weight, which made it less adaptable compared to Ford's lighter Windsor engines. Furthermore, the Cleveland's unique design meant it didn't share parts with other Ford powertrains, creating supply chain headaches. But despite these challenges, the Cleveland's potential as a pure performance engine remained undeniable, setting the stage for a clash between racing dreams and real-world obstacles. How could such an advanced engine, with so much promise, suddenly face extinction? That's where the real story begins. How does an engine as promising as the 351 Cleveland face an early exit? The answer lies in the seismic shifts of the early 1970s. Rising gas prices pushed drivers toward fuel-efficient vehicles, while new emission standards and a crackdown on high insurance rates for muscle cars threw a wrench into the plans of every automaker. The 351 Cleveland, despite its brilliance, was caught in the middle of these intensifying industry pressures. To meet the stricter emissions regulations of the time, compromises became unavoidable. Ford engineers reduced the Cleveland's compression ratio, softening its once impressive power delivery. The open-chamber design introduced in the 4V heads further limited its performance, undermining the engineering advances that had made the engine so revolutionary. These were changes no enthusiast wanted, but Ford's hand was forced by a regulatory environment that left manufacturers scrambling to adapt. Another attempt to salvage the Cleveland's appeal came in the form of the 351 Cobra Jet variant. Released between 1971 and 1974, the Cobra Jet aimed to balance raw power with street usability. While it provided a respectable option for performance enthusiasts, even this promising variant couldn't escape the era's challenges. Emissions restrictions chipped away at its edge, pulling back the engine's original horsepower and leaving it diminished by the end of its production run. It was a reminder that compliance came at a cost, especially for those who craved high performance. Within Ford, the Cleveland also faced competition from its Windsor sibling. The Windsor family, with its lighter blocks and broader compatibility across vehicle lines, was easier to mass-produce and adapt for changing market demands. By comparison, the Cleveland's specialized design created logistical headaches for production lines already focused on streamlining. Even though the Cleveland excelled in racing and enthusiast markets, Its unique characteristics made it harder for Ford to justify continuing its production. Despite its dominance on the track, particularly among NASCAR teams and Trans Am racers, the Cleveland's fate seemed sealed. By 1973, Ford quietly began phasing out the engine. It wasn't due to lack of merit. The Cleveland had proven itself capable of incredible performance. But Ford, adjusting to the economic realities of rising fuel costs and government demands for cleaner engines, shifted its priorities. Efficiency took center stage, leaving the Cleveland to serve as a lingering symbol of what had been. Though the Cleveland left Ford's factories, its impact didn't fade away. Next, we'll explore how an end to production couldn't stop the Cleveland from making a lasting impression in unexpected places. Even after Ford stopped producing the 351 Cleveland, its story was far from over. In fact, the engine gained new momentum, particularly in motorsports. Throughout the 1970s and into the 1980s, the Cleveland's advanced design kept it competitive, especially in NASCAR, where it proved to be a favorite for teams looking for an edge. Bud Moore Racing, known for its innovative approaches, saw the Cleveland as a foundation to build on. Their number 15 Torino, driven by some of the top talents like Bobby Allison and Cale Yarborough, often relied on Cleveland power for select events. What set it apart on the track was its ability to maintain high RPM efficiency for extended periods, making it ideal for short track and road course racing. While larger engines like Ford's 429 Big Block often dominated superspeedways, the Cleveland excelled in ferocious cornering and acceleration-heavy environments. In racing applications, the Cleveland underwent significant upgrades, further pushing the limits of its innovative architecture. Custom high-lift camshafts replaced factory ones. Precision-tuned cylinder heads improved airflow, and reinforced pistons made sure the engine could handle the high stresses of competition. These modifications showed just how far the Cleveland's design could go in a racing context. Teams continually optimized and evolved the engine, which was no small feat considering its production had officially ended. This ability to be stretched and reshaped cemented its reputation among racers and gearheads. Beyond professional racing, the Cleveland gained a loyal following among enthusiasts who simply refused to let it fade into obscurity. The aftermarket offered a flood of options, from custom camshafts to entirely new heads, making it easy for fans to restore or even enhance Cleveland engines to stay competitive with more modern power plants. What's perhaps more remarkable is how it sparked innovation within niche automotive communities. Enthusiasts began experimenting with Clevers, an ingenious hybrid combining a Windsor block with Cleveland heads. These hybrid engines blended the Cleveland's superior airflow characteristics with the lighter, more adaptable Windsor block architecture, creating a best-of-both-worlds power unit. Clevers became a symbol of the automotive community's ingenuity and dedication to preserving the Cleveland's legacy. Decades later, the influence of the 351 Cleveland is still felt, not just in modified street cars but also in vintage racing and restoration projects. Its groundbreaking design, a blend of bold innovation and adaptability, continues to inspire. Few engines could be sidelined so quickly, yet still carve out such a lasting place in automotive culture. The Cleveland wasn't just a product of its time. In many ways, it was decades ahead of it. The 351 Cleveland wasn't pushed aside because it failed. It was sidelined because it was too advanced for its time. Its groundbreaking design showed what was possible when engineers prioritized performance, but external pressures like emissions restrictions and soaring fuel concerns forced its early retirement. Still, its influence endures. From racers to hobbyists, the Cleveland lives on in modified builds and hybrid engines, proving its revolutionary design was never fully forgotten. It makes you wonder, how many other innovations have been lost to shifting priorities? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. The Cleveland story reminds us that true innovation never really dies.